Welcome back, everybody, to 3 Point Lines here on the Parlay. I'm your host, Luca, alongside my co host, Noor, and we got a ton of games to get to tonight. We got 13 and counting. It was a pretty relaxing night in the NBA, only two games. I went 1-1 because the Timberwolves, they didn't cover. They only won by two instead of three. So that was a bad beat there, but I did get the Warriors pick right. So 1-1 last night. Now 18-30 overall. Still getting about 60% of my picks right. Nor, how are you looking?
I failed. It hurt last night. I lost both of them. Timberwolves did not cover. I
Yeah.
did say that Warriors would win, but I thought that Detroit would cover. And you were right. They got blown out. You were absolutely right. And I'm at 57% right now altogether. And I have a very bad feeling that tonight's gonna make it worse. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, it was a bad beat. I can't believe the Timberwolves. I thought I had won that, and then I looked at the score again. I'm like, oh yeah,
Same.
they only won by two, not three.
So
Crazy
annoying.
stuff. All right, let's dive right into these games. We're gonna start Nets, Wizards. The Wizards, surprisingly, 2 point favorites at home. Who do you like here? No KD, of course.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that to see why they were minus two favorites. It does make sense because KD's not playing, and also because it's the home game. Kyrie's not going to be there either, so you're kind of expecting this game to go really just through James Harden. But like, how do you not trust James Harden and company with the Nets, right? He's still going to be surrounded by Patty Mills, who's a 3 point specialist right now. He's honestly my sleeper picked for a sixth man of the year. But the way he's been playing, he's pretty much the starter the entirety of the season. So I don't even know if he would get that award. And he's also around Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge, and they've got a lot of other good pieces coming off the bench as well. So I think this is kind of the game where Harden goes back to his MVP form, goes back to the guy that he was, who was leading his own team and being just the main kind of facilitator and like the shot maker and the shot chucker. So I think the Nets take this here. I'm really surprised at how the Wizards are, but I do see why they might be getting the edge here, just because you can't really expect what version of the Wizards you will get any single night. What
Yeah,
about
and
you?
I feel like you don't know which version of the Nets you're gonna get without KD, right? This team could either
That's
look
true.
really good without him or really bad without him. I agree with you though. I think you have to take the Nets here, especially as an underdog. I think this is really good value with them. I mean, expect Blake Griffin, Patty Mills, LaMarcus Aldridge, those other guys to have big games. And yeah, this has to be a game in which James Harden takes over and looks good, especially against a very mediocre Wizards team right now. So I do like the Nets to win this game comfortably. I can see maybe why the Wizards could pull off the upset. You know, they're going to be at home and they're still a decent team. They have some pretty good wins to show for. But yeah, the Nets, they have no business losing this game. They should win this game. So I'll take them. I'll take them here +2. And yeah, I'm looking for James Harden to step up. We've seen it time and time again. He's been struggling a little bit because he's not getting the benefit of the whistle. He's not getting those calls that he has made a career out of getting. So now he's actually had to try a lot more than in years past. So we're going to see, how that adjustment is for a game like tonight. But I do like Harden to show up. So I agree with you. Let's go Nets here.
It's so funny too because now whenever I see him take threes, and you know how he kicks that leg out underneath, like he's almost kind of going in for a half drop kick, and no one calls the whistle now. So you're just like, hey, now you're gonna have to chuck up those shots and make them. Now sticking to the Eastern Conference theme, you're also gonna be seeing the Magic and the Sixers tonight, and the Sixers are minus 11.5 point favorites. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, this is interesting. They're 2-3 against the spread as double-digit favorites. That is the Sixers, and 7 and 11 against the spread at home. So this is a tough one, but I'm gonna go with the Magic here. I think it's too many points. The Magic, they've been they haven't been good at all. They've been awful, for lack of a better word. But I just think I can't bet against those numbers. I know the Sixers, they are looking like a promising team in the East. They've been solid lately, but 12 just seems like it's a lot. I think this is going to be a classic case of like a backdoor cover where like the Magic are getting blown out for most of it, but then they make a third or fourth quarter run that allows them to make this respectable. So I'm banking on that. I will take the Magic on the road. And yeah, I'll hope for the best with that pick.
Yeah, honestly, I'm on the same boat as you. I hate big spreads. I think big spreads make me look dumb. And I that's why I'm never like inclined to go with it. But just because Orlando is just a terrible team and they're last in the conference for a reason, you also have Embiid on your roster if you're the Philly. And I just, who is going to stop Embiid on the Magic? If he wants to go and have a night, he's going to go and have himself a night. Um, that's why I think that they will cover it. I think also after getting beat by the Wizards so badly, it's kind of embarrassing. So this must be like a bounce back game for them. So I think Philly covers, but I can also see going the other way just because it is a massive spread. I never really know what happens until the last minute.
Yeah, I love taking the points, so we'll see if this is a
Yeah, you
classic
do.
case of that or not. All right, next game we got Hornets Celtics. Good game in the East. The Celtics 4.5 point favorites.
Yeah, did you actually see the news coming out this morning about how Celtics have made Al Horford available for trade now? How do you feel about
Yeah.
that?
I guess I'm not entirely surprised. Maybe they could see what they could get for him, but I do think the Celtics are going to be aggressive to try to make a move. They're starting to get it going a bit here. So if they do want to take that next step, get back into the playoff picture, and actually be a serious threat, or try to at least be a serious threat, I can see them try to make a move. But there's so much coming out now, right? Like the Ben Simmons stuff. You got teams like the Celtics now reportedly trying to make a deal to see what they could get for Horford. You got other teams like the Kings maybe wanting to make a deal. So there's a lot of crazy trade deadline stuff to get to. I feel like we can have a whole other show on that.
We might as well, honestly, we should. Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page here, and I feel like that also is the reason why I'm picking the Hornets today because I think there is a like you said, Celtics are on a roll right now. They have been playing very well, especially compared to how they were going beginning of the season. But they do have a pretty big question mark when it comes to their roster, especially with the Jays. And the Celtics have spent the past couple years, as long as I can honestly remember, trying to figure out a roster that really maximizes Jalen and Jason Tatum. And I just don't know if after getting this news out and how the locker room must be, especially against a team like the Hornets, who are really good, who are getting themselves together, who really can put up a fight and keep up with the pace of other teams. I'm gonna go with the Hornets here, and a part of it is because I can't pick the Celtics. It's wrong of me to pick the Celtics, but
Yeah.
I do think that this is kind of where the Hornets come in and almost backdoor the Celtics just based off what they're going through in the locker room.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Hornets do cover here. LaMelo Ball is going to be back. He had a non-COVID illness, so he missed the last game, but he's going to be back out there, and that's huge. For as good as the Celtics are playing right now, yeah, they're just one of those fringe teams that I just can't trust. It's like they look good in a couple games, and then they have a downfall. Whereas the Hornets, they have done it all season long. They have been in similar instances, on the road as an underdog, and they've come up big in those moments. I think it was last Wednesday on the show. They were on the road against the Sixers, and they won that game outright. And they were underdogs by, I think, a similar line than this. So this Hornets team, they're resilient. They're no strangers to adversity. And I think, yeah, this is a fun team to watch right now. LaMelo Ball being back out there, I think is going to be huge. And yeah, we'll see how the Tatum and the Browns look. This is a big year for them. They really got to take that next step collectively, or else I know they said they want to stay with each other and they don't want to trade, but management can think otherwise. So I think the Hornets get it done here. I can see them with the backdoor cover, like you said. Even if the Celtics do win, I'm thinking it's going to be a really, really tight game. So give me the Hornets plus 4.5.
It'll be a fun game regardless, and I think it'll answer quite a bit of questions for the Celtics as a team itself because, they've been doing this for how many years? It's time to make some winning plays now. Now, on the other matchup of the night, we will be talking about the Timberwolves and the Hawks, and the Hawks here are -2 favorites. Kind of weird. What do you think?
Yeah, this is pretty
Right?
weird. I guess Vegas is giving them credit. They did beat the Bucks on MLK Day on Monday, so that was a really big win. That was an upset win. But that being said, the Timberwolves are coming off a nice win against the Knicks, second out of the back-to-back too, so that's probably factored into this line. I'm gonna take the T-Wolves. I just don't like where the Hawks are headed right now. They've had a very bad season, very inconsistent play. Obviously, they've made a deal. They're looking to probably do more to try to bolster that roster. But this has just been one of the more disappointing teams in the NBA. Whereas the Timberwolves, the exact opposite can be said about them. They've just been a fun team to watch. Cat, Edwards, Russell when he's out there. There's a lot of good young talent on this Wolves team, and it's good to start to see them get it together and actually play well. And they've beaten some pretty good teams this year too. So I think they'll have an easy time against the Hawks. So yeah, I'll take the points because yeah, anytime I see this line and I see the Hawks are a favorite, I'm taking the underdog. The
You
Hawks
go
have
the
not been
opposite.
that team this season.
You're like, no, not today. I honestly, same. I think Hawks are a team that really captivated the entire NBA audience in the playoffs, right? We just saw them coming out of nowhere, and you love to cheer for the underdog. Everyone loves a good underdog story. And then the narrative just changed once the season started. And it's like, where has that team been that we saw? And you mentioned they did beat the Bucks on MLK Day, but I almost kind of feel like that says more about the Bucks than the Hawks. Like the Bucks are also going through a rough patch, and if anything, that adds on to their rough patch as opposed to really help the Hawks narrative. Like it's not really much to do with them. Um, so I do think this is going to be a T-Wolves win as well, especially like you mentioned, Kat, Edwards, and D'Angelo. Whenever they're getting going together, they do produce great basketball, and they're playing against elite teams and making it, if not winning, they're at least keeping it close. They're making it
Yeah.
a really fun watch for everybody involved. And I love Kat, and I love the fact that Kat is now being surrounded by the right pieces who really do bring out his best game and the player that he is on the court. So I like the Wolves here, and I feel like people should be watching them a lot more.
Yeah, I hope they make the playoffs. It's been a
Yeah,
while for them. All right, we
seriously.
got Blazers Heat, big spread. Heat 8.5 point favorites here.
Ah, man. See, like, you
This one's
can't give
tough.
me a spread like that and be like, "Hey, pick." See, the thing is with the Blazers right now, I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just my eyes playing tricks on me, but are they playing better without Dame? They
I
kinda
mean, yeah, lately
they
they've been
kinda
keeping
are,
games
right?
interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that is because when Dame has the ball, you kind of see the offense just absolutely stop. Like there's no movement happening, the ball's not moving. Everyone's just kind of standing there and watching Dame do his work. And like that's only gonna go in as much as it wants to go in. You know, he's not always gonna be that guy for you that actually goes through and wins the games. He is the Dame ticker, the time, everything, but basketball is a team sport. And then when you see Nurkic on the court, and how he's able to facilitate as well as get his offense going and his defense. His rebounding game is off the charts right now. I think I saw it was like 18 rebounds per game or something he's averaging currently. And having that there with you, and McCollum's heading back in the lineup too, and he's coming back from injury, but even being on the minutes restriction, he's still kind of showing us the old McCollum that was there before. And yeah, I just don't know. I feel like Miami's not going to have Lowry here. They did already keep it really close with the Raptors, more than they honestly should have. And Bam is going to have a good, I think, toss up with Nurkic in this one. So I do think Heat wins, but I think Blazers can cover this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. Portland's been a pretty safe bet against the East this season, 10-6 straight up, and 9-7 against the spread. I think Miami wins, but yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I really like that matchup inside, like you said. Nurkic, look for him to have a big game, and yeah, I just feel like everybody's stepping up with Dame being out, and there's more of an offensive responsibility through a couple guys instead of just one guy. And the Heat, they they win games, and whenever they're an underdog, they'll cover. But I don't know. I don't know if I trust them here laying this big of a number. They're not typically a team that blows out their opposition. They usually just play competitive enough to scrape by with a win, and we saw that against the Raptors. They should have easily covered that spread, and at the end, the Raptors had a chance to cover it. So I think this will be a classic case of that. I think the Heat will win, but the Blazers, with momentum on their side, they've looked a lot better lately. And given their success, especially against the spread against the East, yeah, I'll take the Blazers with this one.
They need Lowry for this one, I feel like, especially I think with Jimmy. Jimmy's kind of the guy that wants the ball towards the very end, and that's great, but your team needs you throughout the whole game. Anyway, on the other game for today, Cavaliers versus Bulls. Cavs here are -1.5 favorites, and honestly, I can see why. What do you think?
Yeah, the Bulls, rough patch indeed. No Levine, no Lonzo Ball. They're gonna get Caruso back, so that's gonna help their defense, which has not been good. But I gotta go with the Cavs here to make it six in a row. You gotta love what this team is doing, despite all their injuries, what they've gone through with COVID. They are racking up the wins. Evan Mobley looking like the rookie of the year, honestly. Like he's been playing out of his mind. Garland looking like an all-star. Despite Sexton being out, this team has really upped its game. Rubio then goes down. So they're no stranger to facing adversities. And this team just able to overcome it all. And you look at the Bulls, they're going through that patch, that rough patch. They were literally the hottest team in the NBA. I feel like we're talking about them every single day DeRozan hitting game winners, them going on massive win streaks. And now they have just looked like a complete shell of themselves, and they have been hit with that injury bug. So they should look a lot better tonight with Caruso in. I think definitely don't underestimate his impact and him being back for this one. But I just don't think the Bulls are going to keep up with the offense that the Cavs have been outpouring. I know Vucevic looked a lot better in the last game, and DeRozan is DeRozan, but there's not going to be enough there, I don't think. And yeah, the Cavaliers on the road, so it's going to be tough for them to beat the Bulls in Chicago. But I think they get it done. They're hot right now, so I'm riding with that.
Yeah, like you mentioned, they're both teams that are on opposite directions right now. Cavs have just been honestly the story of the Eastern Conference. Obviously, the Bulls have been too, but I think the way the Cavs have been consistent, and as you mentioned, through adversity, through losing everyone, and these are all new guys on the team, right? There's not guys that really were there the years before and that really had the gelling that helped them out, would have helped them out this year. But these are still guys that are gelling still together, and to be able to see the next man up mentality, and just being able to keep games close or even win. It's been so fun to see. So just imagine once that team is really put together and they're healthy all together, it's going to be a really scary sight. And like you mentioned, Bulls, I feel like almost ever since Caruso went out, it's the Bulls have taken the hit, and it makes sense. He did the same thing to the Lakers and same thing to Bulls. If you don't have Caruso on your team, you're not going to get that defense that you require, especially in situations where you're going to be needing that, right? We need that with Debo around. DeRozan is going to require that extra bit of protection when you have someone like Caruso on your squad. And I didn't know that Caruso was going to be playing. I thought he was still out today, but the fact that he's back is fantastic for them. But I still think without Levine and without Ball, I'm not sure if they have that firepower or that tenacity to match the Cavs. And they did meet already together this season, and the Cavs beat their ass. And this was
Yeah.
without this is when Debo wasn't playing, but you still had Caruso, Levine, and they still had Ball. And with this one, just not having the two of them and still having Debo and Caruso, I think this is probably gonna go the Cavs way.
Yeah, they've definitely been a safe bet lately. If they win, it'll be their sixth straight win. Crazy stuff. All right,
That's crazy.
Grizzlies Bucks, massive matchup here. The Bucks 6.5 point favorites at home. Are you surprised with this line? Because I am, just given how both these teams have been playing lately. One playing much better than the other.
Yeah, I honestly am. I think like Vegas believes in the Bucks a lot. They
Yeah.
believe in Giannis quite a bit, and I see a little bit why it might be maybe that big of a spread, maybe not too close, just because maybe Desmond Bane's not playing, and because of Dylan Brooks not being in the roster either. They're expecting more of a low offensive power from Memphis. But they still got Ja, and Ja is playing like Kobe. Like Ja's off the rails right now. And with the Bucks, we already mentioned they lost to Atlanta on Monday, and they've really been on a rough patch currently. So I think that this is going to be a close one, but I'm gonna go with the Bucks just because I think that this is kind of their time to bounce back. I do think the Bucks defend very well, and Memphis going up against that defense will be really hard for them. And plus, if you're throwing Giannis at John Moran when his jaw's going in the paint, I don't know if he's going to make that shot. And Jaw's not really relying on that three too much right now either. So he's really going to have to drive in and meet Giannis in the paint. So just because of that visual in my head, I'm going to go with the Bucks. But this is going to be a really fun game for tonight. What about you?
Yeah, this is my game of the night. I think it's really going to be good. I'm going to ride with hot teams tonight, and I'm going to go with the Grizzlies. They're 9-1 against the spread in their last 10, which is ridiculous. And what's even more ridiculous is they're 15-5 against the spread on the road. Like, this team has low key been the road warriors this season, or one of those best road teams that you just don't want to see. And the Bucks, yeah, you named it. They've been on a rough patch, losing to the Raptors straight up. They should have never lost that game. And then really losing against a Hawks team that has been one of the worst teams in all of the NBA. I think that's in large part to guys just being in and out, and for that big three not to be together. Drew Holiday has missed some time, and then before that, it was Giannis. So that big three has never truly played a big sample size together this season, because when they're all there, we know how good they are. So I'm not worried about the Bucks, but I just think this is a time where, yeah, they're running into teams that are taking advantage of their situation. So the Grizzlies, they're going to be a bit shorthanded, but like you said, John Morant is there. He's playing like an MVP. He's a superstar. And this Grizzlies team, it's everybody stepping up, it seems, whenever they're out there. So I do like this to be a close game. I don't think the Grizzlies win, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do win. But yeah, I'll take the 6.5 points. I think at the very least, this is going to be a close game that could go either way. So I'm riding
I
that
took the
Grizz
points.
bandwagon.
I took the points for the money, but like my heart wants the Grizzlies to win for sure. Now
Yeah.
Thunder and Spurs -6.5 for the Spurs. What do you say, Luca?
Yeah, this one's tough because both teams have been pretty bad, but I'm gonna go with the Spurs. I think this is a good opportunity for them to try to make up some ground. I know there's a big gap between them and a playoff spot right now, but this is one of those rare situations that favors them. They are 6.5 point favorites here. I think they will take advantage of taking on one of the worst teams in the NBA. And I do like the Spurs to come up big here. I think their defense will do its job. They'll be able to dominate down low, and I think they will handle the Thunder pretty easily here. So they haven't been able to do that throughout the season. I feel like the Spurs have been on the decline since day one, but I think they will have the advantage of getting a win here. So I'll take the points.
I miss a good Spurs team, a good
Yeah.
Popovich-led Spurs team. I miss those days. But yeah, I think you're right. I think this is the best chance they're gonna get just to put a win in that column. You're going up against the Thunder. Thunder has we already know how they're playing and what their game plan is for the next 5 years. So you're really set to win tonight, and you should. Then again, you do have Shea you're going up against. You do have Lou Dort, and those two guys can really get it going whenever they want to. But I do like the depth that the Spurs have in Pirtle, Murray, and Derek White. Even I think Derek White was a really underrated player for them for the past couple of years, and he's really come into his own as well, especially being around people that really fight come get off of him and how he can play off of other people as well. So I do like the Spurs here, but I can kind of see why Thunder might cover it, but I hope they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. The Spurs have not been anybody's safe bet. So definitely bet with caution if you are going to lay the points with the Spurs. All right. So yeah, let's get to our Raptors now. They're going to be on the road yet again. They're on their road trip, and they're going to be taking on the Mavs -4. And you better believe somewhere Dragic is going to be watching this game, crushing on his main guy, Luca Doncic.
Don't get me started on Dragic. I might get fired. Honestly, this is the game where you need Kyle Lowry. We need Kyle Lowry and bench mob because Kyle Lowry and the Mavericks is the tale as old as time. He just goes off against them. And that's also when the other Raptors don't go off, right? Mavericks is kind of just where the Raptors take a seat back. And you really need we had to rely on Lowry in the past couple of years to come through and get those wins for us on the road in Dallas. And they kind of have been dropping games a little bit here and there. Mind you, there were games that they probably should be dropping against Miami and everything, but Mavs have been picking those games up that the Raptors have been dropping. The Mavs have been playing really good, and they've been pretty healthy with Kristaps and everybody back in the lineup. And I think not having Gary Trent tonight is going to be a problem for the Raptors in the offensive end. We showed that the past couple of games. We really need his scoring. It's required. Like our bench is not putting anything up. We have no production from them besides Boucher whenever he wants to get going. And it's just not going to cut against good teams like the Mavericks and all the elite teams in the West and the Eastern Conference. So I'm going to bet on Luca. I think Luca might take this. And I don't feel bad about it. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I'm actually gonna bet against the Raptors here. I don't like this spot for them at all. Another road game. And we saw in that game against Miami, yeah, they were able to pull it through. But how are those starters going to feel logging heavy minutes? Like all those guys logging 40 plus minutes. I don't know how much longer you can realistically expect these shorter rotations to work in your favor because it hasn't been working in anybody's favor. But yeah, like this is a game where I think that lack of depth is really going to hurt the Raptors team that is going up against a Mavs team that they're a pretty deep team. They like to spread it out with their starters, their bench coming in doing their thing, and the Raptors just have such a big bench problem right now, and they got to solve it, or else they're going to lose a lot of these games. They can be in every single one of these games, but it doesn't matter if you lose them, right? So yeah, I do like the Mavericks to cover here. They've been red hot, 9-1 in their last 10. That's straight up. Doncic starting to hit his stride, coming back from injury. Porzingis is back. This team's playing well. They're in Dallas. The Raptors have not typically fared well in Dallas. So yeah, no arrows are pointing to taking the Raptors in this game. They will make it interesting because they always do. I think they've at least showed us that they will fight till the end, and they've done that against teams like the Suns and obviously against the Heat on Monday. But yeah, I just think the Mavs will pull away late, and not having
That's
Gary Trent Jr. is a big loss, like you said.
That one's gonna hurt. And honestly, it almost feels like the Raptors are running like a playoff rotation right now, and
Yeah.
we can't afford it. We need someone off the bench. Before I move on to Rockets and Jazz, I do want to ask you: do you think that the Raptors make a change before the deadline,
Yeah,
or do you hope?
that's a very good question. I think it's where Masai sees this team. If he thinks his team is good enough to win, which they've clearly showed, I expect them to get aggressive and try to get a piece for the bench. I know everybody's talking about the center and lack of a center, but I would argue the biggest void on this team right now is having another scorer from off the bench because Precious has been playing well. Kem Birch has been in and out of the lineup, but when he's there, he hasn't looked that bad. The Raptors desperately need somebody to ignite that second unit. I know you have Chris Boucher there, but nothing else. You need a scoring wing from that bench. Luke has been very disappointing. Malachi Flynn, him as well. So I don't know if you can go out and get somebody, or maybe you tweak the rotations and consider bringing Gary Trent Jr. from off the bench just to even out the playing field in terms of the scoring options on this team. But the Raptors got to do whatever it takes to upgrade that second unit. Got to get some scoring on that second unit because right now it's not going to cut it just to play 6-7 man rotations where you're wearing your guys out every single night. So I think Masai will have a trick up his sleeve. We've heard a couple of names. Pirtle actually being one of the names. We talked about the Spurs a minute ago. If the Raptors do elect to go after a big, obviously we've heard with the whole Miles Turner stuff, although I don't think that's going to happen. Miles Turner is injured now anyway. But could the Raptors get a wing bench piece? Maybe. I mean, they need something there right now. It's not looking good for their bench.
You know who we need? Jalen Harris, back from Italy. Remember him?
Yeah, he's putting up big numbers.
He was so good. He was killing it with the Raptors, and then we know what happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rockets and Jazz. Jazz here at our -12 spread.
Yeah, I'm going with the Jazz. I think Gobert being back completely makes that team back to what they were being before. He's their anchor, he's their middleman. I think the Jazz are going to blow the door off of the Rockets. They're not a good basketball team. We already know. Jazz are at home, one of the best home teams historically, traditionally in the NBA. So yeah, I love the Jazz here. I think this is going to be a game that's decided after the first half. So I know it's a big number, but I'll lay it with the Jazz given the fact that they are a bit healthy now. Gobert's back and they are playing a bad team.
Ooh, we have a face off. I'm gonna go with the Rockets here, actually. I
Ooh,
think
okay.
the yeah, maybe I don't know if it's gonna be a good one, but I think the Jazz haven't really been playing the Jazz way the past couple of weeks. I did check online and it said that they dropped like 3 of their last 10. They haven't covered, sorry, three of their last 10. So I looking at that big spread and going up against a team like Houston, who is a really bad team, like they're not the best team. But the one thing I will give Houston is that they do have some level of offensive weapons, and you have Wood there, you have Jalen Green there, you have Porter Jr., and I think that almost makes it close enough that they might cover the spread. I do think this is the Jazz game to win, especially after they got embarrassed by Stanley Johnson and against the Lakers. So I think this is where they should bounce back, but just because of how they've been playing, and I also think with Rudy Gobert, like he's fantastic, and I think the narrative is now changing, where everyone kind of thought that Donovan Mitchell should be the one who should be coming out and doing everything, but they're realizing that Gobert is really that main guy for the Jazz as well. Like he really is the anchor that keeps the whole team afloat, especially with his
Yeah.
defense. So I can see why they would win 100%, but I just feel like because of how they've been playing and him coming back in the lineup, him integrating with everybody else, I think the Rockets cover. But let's see how stupid I look.
It is a lot of points. So yeah, I would not be surprised if the Jazz let up a little bit and they just barely win this game. All right, Pistons Kings. Are you gonna lay the points here with the Kings? -5.5 is the spread.
I am actually. I am. I think the Kings have had what 2 days to rest after they did got beat by the Rockets. So that's
Yeah.
good enough time on their side, I think, to beat the Pistons. And Pistons are not that team. Any team that has that has lost to the Pistons says more about that team than the Pistons themselves right now. They do have like I think Cade is one of the better. He obviously is the best rookie, but I think even the way that he's been playing, it may not be completely on the scoreboard in terms of his shooting, but he really is getting his playmaking and just his leadership on the court together. So this might not be the year for the Pistons and Cade, but I think more so afterwards, you're gonna see that team come together, especially with Cade really leading that charge. So I'm gonna go with the Kings here. They have good offense. They've been scoring really well. I think they had like 108 points in four straight games or something. And against the Pistons team, that's just not really there. They should cover the spread here. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. Pistons on the second night of a back-to-back. They got spanked by the Warriors last night. They're 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 road games. And you mentioned the Kings being on 2 days rest. That has been the recipe for success for them. They're actually 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 instances where they've had 2 days of rest. So yeah, I like the Kings in the spot. They're at home. The stats are in their favor. They're playing a bad Pistons team. And yeah, I like how you said it says more about the team that loses to the Pistons. Yeah, basically it's the Raptors losing to the Pistons. That's the only team just because of Dwayne Casey being there. Because if that coaching narrative wasn't there, the Raptors would have handed them. But yeah, the Kings, I mean, they've been decent at home, right? Like if you are going to bet on the Kings, you want to bet on them when they're at home and playing a bad team. So I think this is a spot where, yeah, you sneak in a Kings bet and you do take them -5.5, which isn't a ton of points. So I could definitely see them
Yeah.
cover that.
Yeah. I also think I think Nick sorry, what's his name? During Casey, he pretty much says like a brave heart speech whenever he sees a team he just doesn't want to play bad against. So he's like, no, we
Yeah,
gotta go and beat them. But any other team, Pistons are the worst. Anyway,
so
Clippers
true.
and Nuggets, -7.5. This would have been really fun if Clippers were healthy. What do you think?
Yeah, if the Clippers were healthy, this line would be like -2.5 Nuggets, 100%. Yeah, I got to go with the Nuggets here. Clippers, it sucks. All these injuries are piling up. We don't know if George is going to come back. That means Kawhi's not going to come back. I really think they're going to shut it down. I think they're going to be even sellers at the deadline. It's a disaster if you're a Clippers fan right now. 2 years ago, you're thinking, okay, we're going to win the next couple of championships, and now you're just hoping if you can win one during this whole Kawhi Leonard and Paul George experiment. But yeah, the Clippers, they haven't been a good bet, and the Nuggets, typically they are a good home team. I do have like a crazy stat. They're 14-3 against the spread when coming off a home loss to a divisional opponent under head coach Mike Malone. So that happened last game. So expect them to bounce back here. I think they'll
Yeah.
bounce back in a big way. Clippers, yeah, there's not much to side with for them at this point. I mean, yeah, Nuggets. That's all I got for this one. Nuggets minus seven
Honestly,
and a half. Lay it.
you sold me with that stat. That's a crazy stat. That's insane. Yeah, I think I'm on the same boat as you. I do think that the spread might be a little too big just because Clippers might come out and do something. I don't, you never really know with them. It's depending on which guy is going. It really comes down to one guy at a time with the Clippers, what I've noticed, because the rest of them just want to defend, and that's pretty much it. But when you have the best player on your team on the court and you're the Nuggets and you've got Jokic, I just, and against a team like the Clippers who don't really have their main guys or anyone to really go up hand on hand or shot for shot with Jokic, it's gotta have to be the Clippers. So I'm gonna take them to cover here. Sorry, Nuggets. I'm gonna take them to cover here.
Yeah, Jokic, smash any player props he's got for this game. He's going to have a big day inside. No one's stopping him. All right, final game Pacers, Lakers. Is the Lake Show back? Will they make it 2 wins in a row? -5 at home.
I don't know if the Lake Show is back, but I think Stanimal's back. Stanimal's helping them out. You're welcome. The rest of the league, anyone who graduates from the Raptors ends up just helping the other teams out, especially on defense. And it's wild to me that the Lakers to this day don't realize that their issue is defense. Like you let Caruso go, you were winning with Caruso. The second he left, you shit the bed. Now you've got Stanley. Like sign him to a contract, make sure he's still giving you that same defensive powerhouse on the court. And yeah, I think that this is going to be a game where they kind of keep that momentum going that they won against with Utah. Pacers also are not going to have Brogdon. They're not going to have Lamb. They're not going to have Miles Turner. So it obviously already gets offensively worse for the Pacers against the Lakers. And if anyone's going to be going off against LeBron tonight, I just don't think it's the one. So I think this is the one that Lakers take tonight just because they have the more talent on the floor and that this is kind of the time where the Lakers need to just figure themselves out, push themselves up in the table and figure out who they want their matchups to be in the playoffs. What about you?
Yeah, I'm surprised this line is as low as it is for the Lakers. The Pacers, a mess. All those players are out, like you mentioned. Turner now, we'll see how that affects his market value for the trade deadline. Sabonis is kind of the lone man there, left to do everything. But this Pacers team, 3-17 on the road, 1-9 in their last 10 games. They've lost 4 in a row. This should be a game where the Lakers are just licking their chops and they have an easy time and easily cover that -5 point spread. And it's interesting to see if the Lakers can go on a run here. You feel like that win against the Jazz might have changed something, from Russell Westbrook putting Gobert on a poster to LeBron publicly calling out his team and saying, "I'm sorry, Lakers Nation." Like, you don't see that too often from LeBron. I almost get the feeling that could be the moment that maybe turns the tide for this Laker team. And if they can get a nice win here against the Pacers, all of a sudden you've won 2 in a row and you're heading in the right direction. You're back over a game 500. Yeah, I think this is a game they have to take advantage of. They have to win and they got to cover. So, yeah, give me the Lakers -5. I might regret it because every time I pick the Lakers, it's like the other team covers or wins. So, they got to beat the Pacers. If they don't win this game and cover this game with as much as the Pacers are dealing with right now, the Lakers are done.
Trade
Like, this is
Russell.
the final straw for me.
Yeah. Go trade Westbrook. Honestly, you heard it here first. If we get our picks wrong, it's not us, it's the team. They're the ones who did not do their job. We did our job, we did our research, we came here prepared. But this was 3 point lines for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. We have a 13 game night tonight and we gave you all the picks. So have fun with that. You know where to find us every single day on the Parlay social media as well as Parlay TV. And we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.